Seattle area. Okay. We have, it's going to be focusing on housing in Greater Seattle area, and we have a speaker, Zoe Atkins, who's I will introduce a little bit later to, who's going to be talking about housing options in Greater Seattle area. And before that, we wanted to introduce the organizations that are part of the Washington State Sponsorship Hub. We have 3 organizations that work together to support our sponsors. And yeah, so and I just wanted to briefly also tell you about what to expect from the webinar. Zoe Atkins, who let me pull up something. 1 second. Apologize. So Zoe Atkins, she's a senior associate of Ukrainian housing initiatives at the Refugee Housing Solutions. And she's going to be talking about housing solutions for sponsors and newcomers. And she will discuss resources and assistance available for the newcomers, and just will help you navigate this confusing situation of housing in the Washington state, and hopefully make it a little bit easier for you to figure things out as you're looking for a new home away from home. So, but first we'll start by introducing our organizations. Let me see. So I apologize, I didn't skip to the next slide, but this is our agenda, so you can take a quick look at what to expect. We'll have time also for questions and answers at the end of the presentation, so please hold on, and if you have any questions, even if it's not related to housing, we'll still accept them. And first, I wanted to give a word to Oleg, who is the head of the Ukrainian Community Center of Washington State, and he'll introduce his organization.
Hello, everyone. I'm not Oleg, but I am replacing Oleg today. My name is Irina, also called Irena. I like it that way. But I work at the Ukrainian Community Center since 2004. I began as a social worker, and I'm currently program manager and a grant writer. We have provided a variety of social services, currently focusing on immigration, mental health, and also helping those who encouraging, educating, and helping those who would like to sponsor families, individuals from Ukraine. You can visit our website, www.uccwa.org. And feel free to give us a call and see how we can help you. And we can always refer to other agencies that we work with. So that's briefly about us.
Okay. Yeah, so this is something the Ukrainian Community Center of Washington, the services that they provide, you can see them on the screen. And the next organization, yeah, so if you would want to contact Ukrainian Community Center, this is the email and the phone number that you can use and to call them or email them, and they'll help you out. They'll help a lot of people along the way, so please reach out. I'll give you a second to write it down. And the next organization is NASHI, the Immigrant Health Board, and Tamara is gonna introduce their organization. I'll give her a word.
Thank you, Olga. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to have you all with us here on our webinar. My name is Tamara, and I am the Executive Director of NASHI Immigrants Health Board. a registered nonprofit founded by people from the community in partnership with the Washington State Department of Health. Our mission, as you can see, is to meet the broad range of health and social needs of our communities and advocate for needs and actually give our community a voice within this sphere so that we can be able to meet their needs in the best way. We are also trying to understand, support, and empower our community and provide for a healthy future. Next slide. Thank you. Here is some of our information in terms of being able to contact us. We have a website, which is accessible here, and our program manager is Lev, who can also be contacted for information. And I think there's one more slide just describing the programs that we are able to share with the community. Some of the areas that may be helpful if you are either a newly arrived Ukrainian or you are sponsoring someone we translate vaccination records from Ukrainian into English for our community. We also have a lot of health events where we bring resources from our area to the community to be able to connect them to services. We are also starting a new peer support, counseling, emotional and social support groups, and we will be sharing information about where and when that is going to occur. So thank you so much. And I think we are going on to Ukrainian Association of Washington State.
Yeah, so I'm also part of the Ukrainian Association of Washington State, but I'll give a word to other associate Marta, who will introduce our organization.
Yeah, hi, nice to see everyone. My name is Marta. So I'm here as a representative, Olga and Irina, representatives of Ukrainian Association of Washington State. Our association serves as a platform for Ukrainian-Americans, for Ukrainians, and individuals who are interested in Ukrainian culture. Our primary goal was to bring people together to celebrate traditions, organize events, and support community initiatives. Though, in addition to our cultural activity, we have been actively involved with providing aid to Ukraine, especially during times of crisis. And well, as you know, we after the full-scale war, we directed efforts to sending supplies to Ukraine, including medical equipment, hygiene products, clothing, and we are raising funds to support protesters in Ukraine, giving assistance to Ukraine, especially now, last year, giving assistance to immigrants, to Ukrainian families who are moving to our state through not only through a U4U program, but also through other programs. There you see a slide that's if you want to contact us, there's an email, but you can also write us directly, me, Olga, or Irina.
You can use our email to contact us. We also have Facebook and Instagram page. Please subscribe. We always remind our community of the events that are coming up. Has a large following, so please subscribe. So if you want to stay up to date, and yeah, I also want to remind. I saw a question in the chat. This webinar is being recorded, so it's also going to be available online afterwards on YouTube, as well as our previous events are also accessible online, where we discuss other topics. But our topic today is housing solutions, and I think right now we're gonna give a word to our speakers. Thank you, Zoe, so much for agreeing to join us and talk about such an important topic that's been on the minds of all the people that arrived, and it's not an easy topic to navigate. So thank you so much for coming here and agreeing to speak on this topic, and hopefully make it a little bit more clear for everyone who joined and everybody who's going to be watching this later on. So I will give the word to Zoe Atkins.
Great. Hello, everyone. I need to share my screen if I can.
Are you able to press the new share? Do you have that button?
I think that you need to stop sharing first.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Yeah,
If you stop sharing your screen, then I can share my screen, I think.
Okay, I see. Can you please help me with that? Is that should I press the screen?
Yeah,
or?
press the share screen button, and then you could,
yeah.
it'll take yours down.
Okay.
And it should say stop sharing.
Okay, it doesn't.
on the top of the screen.
Yeah, I did press the new share, and it just shows the different options. I don't see the stop sharing option.
On the top of the screen, if you
Pause the share.
yeah,
Is that allowed?
still didn't work.
What I can
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Zoe Atkins, and I am the Senior Associate of Ukrainian Housing Initiatives with Refugee Housing Solutions. Today, I'm going to be talking with you all about the basics of searching for housing in the United States, and specifically Washington State. I am using subtitles today. Please excuse me if they are not accurate at times. There will be time for questions at the end, and there will be several resources distributed following today's call as well.
Zoe, just to let you know, you may want to pause a few seconds because the subtitles are speeding by.
Okay, great. I will take it slow. So Refugee Housing Solutions, or RHS, is a project of Church World Service established to build capacity and technical assistance designed to address the challenges around housing newcomers through innovative, affordable housing solutions on national and local levels. Everyone deserves a safe place to call home. Refugee Housing Solutions provides tools, resources, trainings, and one-on-one support for refugee resettlement practitioners, landlords, and property owners to address barriers refugees and newcomers often face when accessing affordable housing. Our mission is to increase access to safe, sanitary, and affordable housing for refugee families and newcomers in the United States. We work to broaden housing support for refugees by working nationwide through creative partnerships with all resettlement stakeholders and other private entities, landlords, and property managers, as well as community sponsor groups. By increasing the number and types of stakeholders and partners engaged in finding solutions for housing refugees, RHS can achieve our intended impact, which is safe, affordable housing for refugees. In turn, landlords and property managers are able to connect with new and trustworthy tenants to fully utilize income-producing properties. So a bit of background about what we do and the resources you can utilize. So as I previously mentioned, Refugee Housing Solutions provides educational housing resources, technical assistance, and other learning opportunities. Many of these can be found directly on our website, which I will pop into the chat at the end of this, or through our partnership with CORE, spelled C-O-R-E. If you have not already explored CORE's website, this website is a great resource for newcomers needing additional guidance or educational materials beyond and including housing resources. However, resources that you can find on our website include informational guides, toolkits, videos, blog posts, research and evidence database, webinars, and learning modules. Technical assistance is one of our main things that we do. And what is technical assistance exactly? So we offer 1 hour on-demand technical assistance. And during these sessions, you will meet with an RHS housing expert to discuss and brainstorm challenges and solutions in relation to housing newcomers. To be clear, Refugee Housing Solutions provides technical assistance, resource, and tools for folks working in resettlement to be more successful in finding affordable housing. We, however, are not a housing search provider. Our staff does not do case management or provide housing to newcomers. With all that being said, this is a bit of background about our website. We do have a Ukraine-specific part of our website, which has articles that aim to make the housing search process less daunting and introduce landlords and sponsors to the concept of housing newcomers affordably. Our website can be translated into 19 different languages, including Ukrainian and Russian, and some of the downloadable resources on the Ukraine Response tab are translated as well. As you explore our website, if you feel that there's a resource that would benefit you better, please do not hesitate to reach out via email with questions or suggestions. I'm always happy to hear them and to assist you. So let's begin the discussion about how to search for housing in the United States. This discussion will give you the tools and knowledge to search for housing on your own, either with your sponsor or by yourself. So before you begin the housing search process, there's a few things that you should consider. For a successful housing search, you must first take steps to ensure that you have the necessary knowledge and support. Preparing yourself for a safe search, finding a support system, selecting your housing budget, and determining your location are a few of the steps that must be taken. The first thing I recommend that you do is find support. Beyond your US sponsor, other groups can help you look for a place to live. Connect with additional support for resources and possible financial support. Many resettlement agencies have Ukrainian and Russian-speaking case workers as well who are able to help you. Community groups and faith-based organizations such as churches and synagogues may also be able to help you in your housing search. The next thing you should do is to budget. Affordable housing is usually considered between 20 to 30% of a tenant's monthly income. However, for newcomers, it often looks more like 40% or even half of your monthly income. So remember this when you're applying for jobs and know the average cost of housing in your area. Some states and cities have higher rental rates than others, so be aware of this when deciding on a city to resettle in. The next thing you should do is to determine location. If you have school-age children or have begun a job, you will want to focus your search in these locations. Besides local rent costs, be sure to consider proximity to grocery stores, community centers, and public transportation as well. And the last thing that you should do is to avoid scams. Be aware not to share any personal information with landlords or property managers before securing your lease. It is rare to pay a fee before signing a lease, or that you'll be asked to sign a lease before seeing a property. If you are able, get your local resettlement agency or sponsor to help you in the housing search and verifying landlords. This is something I'll talk about a bit more in a bit. So the housing search. You can find housing through a variety of platforms, but it is important to search through reputable websites and connect with people you trust. Your sponsor, resettlement agency, or local community groups can assist you with making safe and appropriate housing decisions from the start of your housing search. Connect with a local resettlement agency or community group to help find housing. Search for houses and apartments on trusted websites, and tour available rentals with a case manager or your sponsor. I will continue to repeat this through the presentation, but I do recommend that you find someone or multiple people in your community who are willing and able to assist you in guiding you through your first housing search process. At times, it can be daunting, and having a support system helps make sure that you can make the best decision possible and that no mistakes are made in the process. So, in-person search. One way you can find housing is through in-person connections. Connecting with a resettlement agency, community groups, churches, or synagogues for support in finding open rental units is a great first step. If you work with local resettlement agencies or community groups from the start, they will know landlords who are willing to rent to newcomers or know open properties. You can also contact a local realtor who has experience finding affordable rentals as well. Explain that you're a newcomer in this situation and that locating housing it can be a challenge for you. You may also want to walk around neighborhoods you're interested in living in and look for signs on the side of buildings that say for rent or for lease. Another way you can search for homes is online. There are many websites dedicated to finding housing and make this task quicker and more manageable. Before browsing apartments online, consider your budget when searching for a place to live and choose homes within your budget long term. Search for housing on trusted websites, such as the one listed above. This allows you to get a good idea what average rent is in your area. The first two websites that I've listed on this slide are Washington-specific affordable housing search platforms, and this list of websites will be sent out later after this conversation. So some tips for searching online. The first thing that I recommend you do, and I've mentioned this before, is determine what neighborhood you're looking for housing in, considering school districts, public transportation, and access to basic needs such as supermarkets. Determine your monthly budget and be realistic. Although you may be supported by a resettlement agency for a few months in the beginning of your time in the United States, it's important to choose housing that you can afford long-term so you don't have to overburden yourself. Determine how many bedrooms you need. The government requires that no more than 2 people live in one bedroom at a time. Gather a list of houses you might be interested in. Working from an organized list will help you make a decision more easily. Be wary of online scams. And the last thing is be realistic. Buying a home in the United States takes a lot of work and savings, even if you previously owned one in Ukraine. The first apartment you may find in America may not be your ideal space, but remind yourself that this is a home as a stepping stone to something greater. With time and hard work, you will have many more opportunities to find housing that may check all of your boxes. I'm going to talk a bit about housing scams and how to avoid them. Housing scams are common on search platforms online specifically, so be mindful and educate yourself. Here are a few things that may signify that the property you're looking at is a scam. The first thing that you might see or that you should look for is that you find the same property listed on other services with different rent or contact information. This may be a sign that it is a scam. If the deal is too good to be true, be wary. If it's really, really cheap to have multiple rooms to yourself, that's probably a scam. They want your credit card information right away. Never share your credit card information before you sign a lease. They ask you to wire money or send money using an app. The landlord is out of town or out of the country and cannot meet you. The address is not disclosed on the listing. The rent is very low and the landlord offers to pay all utilities. There are a lot of typos in the listing. The landlord will not speak with you on the phone or let you into a property to view it. Note that some scammers will speak with you and even let you into a property they do not own. However, that is very rare. So continuing to talk about avoiding scams, there are some do's and do nots. So as I said, do not pay any deposits or rent until you are certain you have signed a valid lease with someone who has the right to rent you a property. Do not share your credit card information right away. Do not wire money or send money through an app. Do not call cell phone numbers embedded in photos or that have been spelled out like 704. Do avoid situations where you feel pressured or uncomfortable. Do search the address of the property online to see if it is offered elsewhere with different contract information or rent. And finally, do screen your landlord. Ask them questions and search their name online. Read online reviews of the property and check public records for complaints, foreclosure status, and criminal activity. Beyond the traditional housing search, I think it's important to educate you all on public housing and subsidized housing as well. As a precursor to this discussion, it's important to note that waiting lists for these programs tend to be years long and difficult to place into, but are still an option for new arrivals. So, major US housing programs. Housing assistance is what the Department of Housing and Urban Development is best known for. This service that most people think of when they hear the name HUD, and that's with good reason. HUD programs help hundreds of thousands of individuals and families achieve safe and secure housing each year. In fact, HUD estimates that 1.2 million households are living in public housing. There are several housing subsidies and affordable housing programs that HUD has, with the largest being the Mortgage and Loan Insurance through the Federal Housing Administration, Community Development Block Grants, or CDBG, Home Investment Partnership Act, Public Housing, and Housing Choice Voucher, formerly known as the Section 8 program. So how does public housing work? Public housing programs provide direct payments to public housing agencies, or PHAs, and Indian housing authorities to develop and operate housing for low-income families. The Office of Public and Indian Housing administers HUD's public housing programs. Public housing. Public housings are properties owned by the governmental authorities and are funded through HUD, but administered by local public housing authorities, PHAs, and available for low-income families and individuals whose household income is less than 80% of the area median income, or AMI. The Housing Choice Voucher Program, which is formerly Section 8, is like a public housing program. It is also funded through HUD, administered by a local housing authority, and available for low-income families and individuals whose household income is less than 80% AMI. The Housing Choice Voucher is the federal government's largest program that assists the elderly, disabled, and low-income families in securing housing in the private market. Since housing assistance is provided on behalf of the family or individual, participants can find their own housing, including single-family homes, townhouses, and apartments. However, for an individual or family to lease with a private landlord or housing provider, they must accept a Housing Choice Voucher and meet the Housing Choice Voucher Program requirements and criteria. With the Housing Choice Program, the subsidy is paid directly to the landlord or housing provider by the PHA on behalf of the participating individual or family, with them responsible for paying the difference. Because it is affordable housing, the individual or family will pay no more than 30% of their income. We have more resources that educate you on public housing on our website. I'm not going to go too deep into it because it's very complicated and there's a lot to do with it, but know that a lot of resettlement agencies do not utilize public housing because of the long wait lists. So on the screen are a list of affordable housing providers in the Seattle area. Once again, I will be sending this out at the end of this presentation, but I'll give you a second to take a look at it. So the next step when you're looking for an apartment, once you've applied, or not applied, I'm sorry, gathered your list, is touring and applying to rental homes. So once you have your list of apartments that are within your budget and match your housing criteria, you're ready to tour them. Always tour an apartment before you sign a lease. I recommend bringing a trusted person with you, whether it be your case manager, someone within your community that you've connected with, or even a Ukrainian-American that has been resettled here for a while. On the RHS website, we have a housing walkthrough checklist available to bring with you when you are looking at an apartment to ensure that the home is safe and sanitary. That will be one of the documents I send to you later. And always keep an open mind when you're looking at something. Like I said, be realistic. This might not be your home forever, but it might be your home for a few months, and it's a great jumping off point. Once you have decided on a house or apartment, it is important to be aware of the next steps and to act quickly. In the United States, housing is competitive and can rent quickly. Be aware that some tenant applications do have a fee, typically between $25 to $50 per person. Familiarize yourself with the documents that are needed when applying to rent a house or apartment. When applying to a rental home, landlords and property managers are used to a certain set of documents, such as a background check, credit report, and rental history. However, I have written a document that is available on our website, and once again will be sent out at the end of this call, that outlines what documents you can provide instead of the ones that you typically see. Let the landlord or property manager know about your situation early on, and that the documents you are providing will be different but still eligible. If possible, ask a resettlement agency sponsor or family member or community and faith groups to help you read and understand your lease. A lease is your agreement between a landlord and yourself when renting out a property. Before signing your lease, inspect the rental unit and document the conditions in writing. You will also have to put down a deposit with signing a lease. Your housing journey does not end once you sign your lease. You must follow the rules and understand your lease agreement to be a good tenant and neighbor. So the first thing you might see on your lease is landlord information. At times, the point of contact for the property you see to lease is listed with a property management company. It is essential to know who your actual landlord is in case of any issues that may arise. You'll also see a word called breaking the lease clause. Lease agreements typically include a break lease clause that is in place to protect landlords if a tenant decides to break a lease. It often outlines the circumstances for a lease to be broken and includes certain fees you may be required to pay. Maintenance and repairs. As a tenant, you want to know the type of repairs or upkeep you are responsible for and who is responsible for routine maintenance, such as smoke detectors, changing air filters, or lawn care. Pets. If you have pets, you need to know if they're allowed in the rental property and if there's a pet deposit required on top of your regular deposit, or sometimes pet rent. There may be strict policies regarding what pets are allowed and are not allowed. Additional fees. Within the lease agreement, there may be other fees to be aware of, such as when paying rent late and what kind of fees go into effect when there is a late payment. Renter's insurance. Landlords may require a tenant to obtain renter's insurance. Typically, a lease agreement will reveal if a renter's insurance is required and what needs to be covered in the policy. And utilities. Sometimes utilities are covered in the monthly rent, but many times they are not covered. For example, sometimes utilities like water and trash removal are covered, but internet service is not typically covered. And rental payment. Be aware of when your rent is due and how much is due. And move in. Once you've moved into your new home, be sure to set up your utilities, get renter's insurance, and find furniture and other necessities for your home. Community groups, faith organizations, and online marketplaces may have free or affordable furniture and home goods for your new home. I recommend you take photos of any existing damage in the apartment and report it to your landlord so in the future it is not taken out of your security deposit. Keep your unit clean, get to know your neighbors, and enjoy your home. One last note on renter's insurance. It may sound scary, but it's good to insure yourself in case of an emergency. I pay $11 a month in renter's insurance, so it is very affordable most of the time. Thank you all so much for listening to my presentation. This is our website, which I will pop into the chat. And like I said, I will ask Olga to send out a list of resources to you all about finding affordable housing within Washington State. Thanks, everyone.
Should I post my information that I will get these resources, my email?
Please post it in the chat. Drop your email in the chat.
Okay.
We'll send out the information to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, anybody wants more resources or information, or even this presentation to look over, please send your email in the chat and we'll send you information after this webinar. Thank you so much, Zoe. I think it was
Yes, of
really
course.
helpful, and hopefully everybody also got out what they were looking for from this presentation. And right now, we'll take any questions that you have. Please also, if you have any questions, send them in the chat, and Zoe or any of us will try to answer your questions. We'll wait for a little bit.
Також можете задавати питання українською, якщо не можете задавати питання англійською, як вам зручніше.
Так, питання, якщо у вас, if you have any questions or about housing, please, you can go ahead and ask them. But if you have questions about anything else related to United for Ukraine program or sponsorship process, also can ask them right now in the chat.
Excuse me, I had a question for Zoe that others might be wondering about. Do you have resources on your site about your relationship and communication with landlords and disputes and things that may come up that people might need navigating tools for?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have one specifically to that, but we do have one that is really good for resettlement directors and folks who work in resettlement about how to create a landlord community. But we do have resources about how to be a good tenant and how to have difficult conversations with your landlord. So although we don't have just one, we do have a lot of resources on our website. And one thing that you can do on our website is filter who the audience is. So for the audience of this call, it would be refugees and newcomers, and you can see all the resources that are specific to those folks. Thank you for the question.
We have one question from Vinod. I hope I pronounced your name right. So Zoe, do you have information about families who are looking for, I'm sorry, it might have been not for you. So I think the question is more for us. This is a general question. Yes, now I realize that. So the question is, do we have information about families who are looking for sponsors? They're part of, the question is from a member of the Welcome Circles, who works with Amy Nash. Can anybody? I don't think I have. So I think the question, if there are families, let me clarify the question. So you're looking for families who are looking for sponsors. Is that did I understand this correct?
Can I jump in? I'm a friend of Vinod, and we're a part of a church group in Redmond, and we are preparing to sponsor a Ukrainian family. And so we have not selected the family yet that we're going to be working with. We're hoping to find someone who is still in Ukraine and is in a situation that they really need to get out of. So we're working with other organizations to look for a family, but I think that was what Vinod might be asking,
Okay.
is if you know of any.
I think there's a lot of families that are looking for sponsors, of course. One of the resources I will answer, maybe somebody else can add to it. The welcome.us website actually has, they have already a list of families that applied and are looking for sponsors. So they, on that website, you can find families just by going online or on Facebook. There are a lot of posts about looking for sponsors, but what is helpful with welcome.us, I think, is that the families already fill out some information about themselves, and might be easier to find a family that you will be comfortable with becoming a sponsor. So I can try to, while we're waiting for any more questions, I can try to send you a direct link. But if you go on the welcome.us website, they have a section where you can just look for families that are, it's a website. I will try to send you.
Also, I think we can, if you send us an email, we will help you after the call, after the recording. And yeah, just send us an email with your questions and we'll try our best to help you.
And I just wanted to add, since we are collaborating with Welcome US because we are the community agencies here in the state, Welcome US has a sponsor page where you actually can input your own information and that you're looking to sponsor someone from Ukraine. So they have a really good system set up to be able to navigate through that.
That's right. Thank you, Tamara. So,
Well, if no one has any more questions,
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm a sponsor and I sponsored a family from Ukraine, and so they are going to come soon. And my question is about affordable housing. You said that the rent has to be less than at least 40% of the salary, but as far as I know, probably they will not be able to work soon. So what options do we have now, like options which will not take years or months? I mean, just to apply for the and wait and pay from the savings, or any other quicker options?
I would recommend that in the meantime, you do connect with your local resettlement agency. Even if they are outside of within 100 miles of you, there are remote placement folks who can assist you as well. Because until your your sponsored Ukrainians come over, you cannot rent for them because it needs to be under their name and they need to have their paperwork. You can rent a building under your name if you were interested and then house the newcomers in there. However, that's not what we recommend. So in the meantime, I would connect with a resettlement agency because they may have additional funding to help support that family. Otherwise, good options would be temporary housing, which is between 1 to 3 months of housing. You can utilize Airbnbs in the area, as well as hotels like Extended Stay America, which has kitchens and bathrooms and everything for someone to actually be able to live in a hotel and not just be in a bedroom. So those are good temporary options until they do have their EAD and they are able to work. So utilizing temporary housing is my first step. On Airbnb as well, you can also message any of the folks who are renting out there and explain the situation. And sometimes they will be willing to waive the deposit or the cleaning fee, which can help make it a little bit more affordable. And then affordable housing just typically is described as 20 to 30% of your income. But because they obviously don't have an income yet, you would have to wait to see what that is before being able to completely deem what is affordable for them. So utilizing temporary housing, I think, is a really good first step when folks are first coming over, as well as connecting with resettlement agencies, because they do have a lot of connections and they may have funding available for them.
Thank you. And one more question, speaking about, so newcomers, they don't have credit history. So what is the situation in the market? How landlords react, and are they willing to sign the lease with people who don't have credit history now?
That's a great question. That's something that I hear a lot of the time is one of the biggest challenges when folks are looking for housing for newcomers, is that they don't have the typical documents that you see. I will send out some resources, or I'll have Olga send out some resources to you all. But one of the resources that I have on there that I'm trying to pull up right now is what is typically seen by landlords and what you can provide instead that will be able to help them. I can't seem to pull it up. I can only find it in Russian, which I don't speak Russian, so that's not helpful right now. But having an honest conversation with a landlord and letting them know they may not have this typical credit history, but they have these other documents that prove that they can be good tenants is a good first start, as well as connecting with resettlement agencies. Like I said, they will have been in the community for a while and will know landlords who will be willing to rent to refugees, because typically they have a network of folks who they're already familiar with. So that's a good place to start.
Okay, thank you.
Can I also add, I've been monitoring this also real estate market, and what I saw, some people are okay if you give them like higher deposit, like usually like 3 to 6 months deposit, or if you have like a work contract or some like savings on your account to show the proof that you are you can afford the house. Some also, I saw some are asking for cosigners. That's a bigger risk for like sponsors, because a cosigner, you're equally responsible if they cannot afford paying or like stop paying, something like that. But if you're like sure in this person in the family, then you can be a cosigner. Then the landlords are more willing to sign the leases for people with this kind of situation.
Thank you.
Also, you mentioned resettlement agency. Those agencies that you mentioned earlier in the slide, is it core refugee housing solution, or what is it? Resettlement agencies?
I can pop a link into the chat where you can find a local resettlement agency. A resettlement agency, there are 10 nationwide that are the 10 main ones. Refugee Housing Solutions is not a resettlement agency. We work with resettlement agencies, but we are not one, and neither is CORE. Both CORE and Refugee Housing Solutions are resource guides and places like that, but I will send a link in the chat right now, and you can search based on your area and your state, which is going to be Washington, what your local resettlement agency is, and then get in contact with them via email or by calling them or going in person if you're local enough. It's a really good first step, is just getting in contact with a case manager, because although if you're a sponsor and you are willing to help your newcomer, it's really good just to have someone with a little bit more information that can help you with cultural orientation or finding landlords, and just be a bit of a support system, so that, you know, later down the line, you'll have someone who can help you if you need it. So check out that link in the chat, and you can find there's, it looks like there's about 10 resettlement agencies throughout Washington. So connect with any one of them.
Thank you, Zoe. There was a question in the chat, so I'll read it out to you. Do you know of any landlords or property managers on the East Side who participate in the housing program and will have a solution for a family we plan sponsoring?
Unfortunately, I don't. As Refugee Housing Solutions, we do not provide housing or connect specifically with landlords on the local level. I'm personally based in California, so I don't have a lot of information specific to the East Side or Seattle itself. However, that is why I do recommend getting in touch with a resettlement agency, because they do have connections at the local level that I do not. So, like I said, check out that link that I popped into the chat, because those folks will be able to help you much more locally.
I do see one more hand up.
Okay. Yeah, so hi,
You can go
So-
ahead.
yeah, my name is Yulia, and thank you for organizing this. So I'm sponsoring one family, and they're coming in July, and I just would like to confirm that I understood the process correctly. So the first thing, they need to find apartment, they have a rent agreement and income proof, and then they apply for that resettlement agency for help, right? For support.
So you can connect with a resettlement agency as soon as your newcomer arrives, or you can connect with them beforehand so that you have resources before they even get there. I always recommend for sponsors to connect with your resettlement agency. They're not necessarily going to have funding, but they are going to be good resources and people to ask personal questions about things that are happening locally. Then once your newcomer arrives, if you are able to find them some temporary housing for the first few weeks or months that they're there, such as hotels or Airbnbs, or if you know of someone who has like an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit in their backyard that can house folks, something that's safe and sanitary for these families, because they obviously are going through a lot and will be, you know, stressed upon arrival. So you want them to have a place that they can go to. And then after that, once they start to get some employment, then you begin the housing search process. For some folks, if they have the savings and the like means to do it, you can start it from the very beginning. It just depends on how much money they actually have in their savings account. And like, I'm sorry, who said that? Marta, I think Marta said that in some cases, some landlords are a lot more willing to rent to refugees if you put down a few months of deposit. And so that can be a really good first step too. If your newcomers that are arriving have enough savings to do something like that, then you could probably secure housing for them within the first few weeks. The only concern with trying to find housing for folks before they even arrive is that you need to have documentation of them being in the United States, so that otherwise it would be under your name. The lease would be under your name, which is up to your own discretion. And if you would like to do that, you're more than welcome to, but just for your safety, I always recommend to put it under the actual renter's name.
Okay, one more quick question about like income documents. Like, I mean, I'm not sure how fast they can find like official work and formal like offer letter or something. So what acceptable documents of income?
So I have this resource that's going to be sent out to everyone that's called Rental Requirements and Newcomer Documents, which explains all of it. But for the ability to pay, I have a few options. First is a credit report. If by some chance you're able to get a credit card for these folks when they first arrive, that's a really good way to start establishing credit. Pay stubs, if they do have a job, to show the pay stubs, or if they're about to get a job, an offer letter. Typically when you're offered a job, you get an offer letter and you can show that as well. Like Marta said, a higher deposit amount is a good option. And if they've been in the US for a while, showing income tax returns. Another option is a promissory note. And so a promissory note is a signed document that contains a written promise to pay a stated sum to a specific person or the landlord at a specified date or on demand. And so you, as a sponsor or a resettlement agency, depending on what route you take, will occasionally be able to sign a promissory note that shows the landlord that if the new tenants default on rent, that you are responsible and the rent will still get paid. And so that's a good first step, is just to, and that's the same sort of thing as a co-signer to a lease, is just showing that if anything goes wrong, the rent will still be paid. And that's a good way to secure rent. But it is a lot easier to get a place to live when you do have steady income coming in. Another thing to discuss with newcomers in general is the fact that the first job they may not have is not necessarily their job for life. I know that in Ukraine, a lot of people have, college degrees and specialties that might not necessarily be the first job that they get here. But there are programs. There's a program called Tent. I can pop their website into the chat. And there's also a program called Upwardly Global that connect with newcomers and work on getting them into a more long-term career. So I will put those into the chat. That's not necessarily what we do at Refugee Housing Solutions, but housing and everything else is so intertwined. So Upwardly Global and then the Tent Foundation are two resources to connect newcomers with when they arrive so that they are able to, when they stay here long-term, to get in touch with more career options, and which results in better housing over time.
Okay, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, Zoe, and also thank you to everybody who joined today. We are out of time for questions, unfortunately, but if you do have any further questions, don't hesitate to contact us through the emails that we dropped in the chat and you saw on the screen. Please contact us and also follow our social media for any further events that are going to happen probably next month. We're going to explore more topics for sponsors and the newcomers. So please follow us on the social media and do ask questions through the emails, and hopefully we'll be able to help you and support you on this journey. So thank you everybody for coming. That's all the time that we have today, and thank you so much, Zoe, for coming today and speaking and answering questions of our attendees. Thank you.